Magandang gabi po sa inyo mga ka-hometown. Ako nga po pala si COLBI. Welcome back po sa ating channel and advance Merry Christmas sa inyong lahat. Sa gabi pong ito, ako po ay may ibabahagi sa inyo na isang video tungkol sa Battle of Yultong na naganap sa Korea nung kasagsagan ng Korean War. Ito po ay naka-upload sa channel na MASID. Ilalagay ko po sa description below yung link para pwede nyong bisitahin at mag-subscribe din kayo sa channel niya. Simulan na po natin.
In honor of those who sacrificed their lives for freedom, MASID proudly presents The Battle of Yultong, a story of how Filipino troops braved a sea of Chinese soldiers during the Korean War. The Korean War began on June 25, 1950, when North Korea, backed by...
So makikita po natin sa mapa, makikita natin dito sa hilagang bahagi, yung North Korea, yung kulay red, at yung South Korea. Itatalakayin ko yung kung bakit yan nahati pero sa ibang video na lang. Basta po yung nasa taas, yan yung komunistang Korea at ito naman yung Korea na niyakap ang demokrasya. Tuloy natin.
China and the Soviet Union crossed the border into South Korea in an attempt to capture its capital, Seoul. In response, the United Nations Security Council, through the formation of the United Nations Command, ordered the deployment of military forces to stop the invasion. On August 7, 1950, President Elpidio Quirino, with approval from Congress, sent 7,400...
So yan po yung naganap noong August 7, 1950 kung saan sa pamamagitan ng ating Pangulo na si Elpidio Quirino at naaprobahan ng Kongreso ay nagpadala ng 7,420 Filipino troops to Korea.
The 20 Filipino combat troops to fight in South Korea. President Quirino saw this as a commitment to help a friend and as part of a larger battle to save the world from communism.
Yun pa ang issue, gustong i-save ng Allied forces yung South Korea sa pananakop ng mga komunista.
10th Battalion Combat Team, the Philippine Expeditionary Forces to Korea, was the first battalion to arrive on Busan shores on September 19, 1950. The 10th Battalion, made up of 1,303 enlisted men and 64 officers, was originally a motorized battalion sent to operate tanks from the US. But when none arrived, was turned...
So yun po ang issue. Nung pumunta sila doon, ang sabi, mag-ooperate sila ng mga tangke galing sa United States of America pero walang dumating.
Turned into a heavy weaponry unit instead. On the night of April 22, the 10th Battalion, as part of the U.S. 65th Infantry Regiment of the U.S. 3rd Infantry Division, was attacked north of Yonchon by a large force of Chinese and North Korean soldiers. This would be known in history as the Great Spring Offensive, one of the largest offensives by the 44th Division of the Chinese People's Volunteer Army and the Communist North Korean Army during the Korean War. In front of the Filipinos were 4 Chinese divisions numbering about 40,000 men. Just after midnight, the Chinese began their attack with a heavy artillery barrage.
So yung po outnumbered sila kasi mahigit sa 40,000 yung mga Chinese soldier at mga North Korean soldier.
Soon after, the Chinese forces advanced, but had difficulty as the 10th Battalion successfully defended their positions with mortar and artillery. However, a massive Chinese assault pushed the Turkish brigade from their position, allowing the Chinese to surround the Filipinos' eastern side.
So yun yung naging yung naging problema, yung umatras yung mga Turkish doon sa kanilang posisyon, na expose yung mga Filipino sa massive na tropa ng mga kalaban.
Seeing the incoming danger, Lieutenant Colonel Junicio Ojeda immediately organized a unit of battalion cooks and clerks to fortify and defend the east flank. With the help of M24 light tanks and artillery support, Lieutenant Colonel Ojeda's makeshift unit was able to hold off the advancing Chinese forces.
So nakita natin ginamit na lahat ng mga tauhan para maprotektahan yung eastern side.
The situation only got worse when the Puerto Rican 65th Infantry Regiment, situated on the west flank, began to fall back from Chinese attack. With the west flank now exposed, the Chinese began advancing but were blocked by a platoon of Filipino soldiers situated on a hill overlooking Yultong.
So, ang isa pa yung dito sa kabila, sa west flank yung Puerto Rican umatras din, kaya na-expose na naman yung mga Pilipino sa pag-atake ng mga Chinese.
Commanded by Lieutenant Jose Arciaga, this platoon refused to yield and held their ground. This gave Lieutenant Arciaga's company commander, Captain Conrado Yap, enough time to mount a counterattack. The counterattack successfully extracted the trapped platoon from the hill and also stopped the Chinese from further advancing. But sadly, Lieutenant Arciaga and Captain Yap were killed during the fight.
So namatay yung dalawang officer doon sa labanan, si First Lieutenant Jose Arciaga and Captain Conrado Yap, mga bayani sa panahon ng Korean War. Tuloy natin.
In the early morning of April 23, Lieutenant Colonel Ojeda led the second counterattack using M24 tanks. This caught the Chinese off guard and pushed them away from the hill they were trying to seize. The Filipinos fought until midday before it was ordered to withdraw and link up with the rest of the division in the south. 15 Filipino soldiers died, 26 were wounded, and 14 were missing in action, while the Chinese and North Koreans lost around 500 soldiers. The 10th Battalion's effort at Yultong allowed the U.S. 3rd Infantry Division to successfully withdraw from the battlefield.
So sa tingin ko dito, dahil sa experience ng mga Pilipinong sundalo, kasi hindi pa natatagalan matapos yung World War II, kasi yung World War II ay natapos noong 1945, ito naman 1950. So marami pang mga sundalong may karanasan sa World War II, kaya nakita natin bagamat outnumbered sila, na ipaglaban nila at na protektahan nila yung kanilang post o yung position nila doon sa Korea,
which would later on prove to turn the war in favor of the Allies. 2 weeks later, the Communists began ceasefire negotiations after suffering more heavy losses. For the next 2 years, the Korean War was mostly battled from hilltops until a ceasefire was finally declared. Out of the 7,420 Filipino soldiers sent, 113 were killed, 313 wounded, 15 missing, and 41 held as prisoners of war. Today, a monument stands inside the War Memorial of Korea in honor of the many Filipino soldiers who fought for the liberation of Korea. Recently, during the 69th anniversary of the Korean War, the late Captain Conrado Yap was awarded the Taeguk Medal, the highest military decoration given to a soldier for bravery in combat. Also awarded the Taeguk Medal was fellow 10th Battalion team member Major Maximo Young.
Yan, si Major Maximo Yang, buhay pa yan. Nakarating pa siya nung anniversary dyan sa yung War Memorial sa Korea.
For his heroism at the Battle of Yultong. The efforts of the 10th Battalion in the Battle of Yultong was instrumental in turning the tide of the war in favor of the Allied forces. South Korea remains a free democracy, thanks to the contribution of soldiers like the Fighting Filipinos, a name given by the U.S. Command to the brave men of the 10th Battalion Combat Team. Did you like our story? Are there other heroic adventures of Filipinos you want us to feature? Let us know in the comment box. Don't forget to like this video. Also, subscribe to our channel. See you next time. Thanks for watching.
Ayan po, natapos na po nating panoorin yung kwento tungkol sa Battle of Yultong na naganap noon sa Korea, kung saan malaki po ang papel na ginampanan nito upang ang Korea ay hindi masakop ng mga komunista. Nais ko lang po itong ibahagi sapagkat nakakalimutan na po ito ng mga tao dahil sa tagal na. Magsi 70 years na simula nung maganap yung Korean War. Maging yung ibang mga batang Koreano ay hindi po yan alam na marami palang bansa yung tumulong sa kanila para hindi masakop yung South Korea ng North Korea. So yan lamang po at magandang gabi muli. Maraming salamat sa panonood. Peace out.